Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken and welcome back to another video. Overwatch and Paladins are two strikingly similar games. After all, they're both in the same genre, inspired by Team Fortress 2, and grew up right alongside each other. And while there's no doubt about their similarities, they also do a lot of things pretty differently too, with both games doing certain things way better than each other. Now, I'm primarily a Paladins YouTuber, but I've also taken a deep dive into Overwatch throughout the past 6 months over the course of nearly 20 videos. Now that I've thoroughly played both games, I can see certain things that stand out as being better in both Paladins and Overwatch. I think that both games could learn from each other to try and improve and be the best games they could possibly be, which is why I'm making this video in the first place. I have already made another video going over the top 5 things that Paladins does better than Overwatch, which you can find linked in the cards and the description if you haven't seen that already. But before we begin, I want to get a few things out of the way. First, I want to make it extra clear that this video is not hating on Paladins, just like the last video was not hating on Overwatch. I enjoy both games, and want to see them both improve to become as great as they can be. This video, just like the last one, should serve to open up discussion about the strengths and weaknesses of both games, not to be divisive and petty. I'm not saying either game is truly better than the other, because there are great reasons to give both Paladins and Overwatch a try. So if you're a Paladins fan, don't go disliking this video just because I said that Overwatch does some things better than Paladins. Also, I just want to mention that this list is simply my informed opinion. I've taken an assessment of the things in Overwatch that stand out to me as being better than Paladins, and put the best ones in this video. If I didn't mention something here that you think deserves recognition, leave it in the comments, and maybe I'll give it a heart. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. Number 5. The replay function. Oh my god. The replay function. When I first tried the replay function in Overwatch, after coming from the janky replay mess in Paladins, I thought I died and went to replay heaven. It is so clean. Now, having a well-functioning replay function is extremely valuable for a game like Overwatch, since it not only lets you analyze matches to see how you can improve, but it also enables certain things like kill cams and top plays, which are fun and useful features. After all, kill cams are a super useful tool for explaining how someone died, and they also make it much easier to spot aim hackers since you can see exactly how they play. Top plays are also a fun and rewarding feature, since getting top play at the end of a match feels like a satisfying accomplishment, and lets you revel in the glory of your sick play, even if you lost. Now, Paladins used to have both top play and kill cams, until both features were completely removed in order to fix bugs. It's been over a year without the two now, and when I finally started playing Overwatch, it felt so refreshing to see both again. I'm not alone in saying that it would be amazing for Paladins if kill cams and top plays were to return, but alas, it seems like there's no hope on the horizon for such people like me. But anyways, back to the main point of this section, the actual match replay function itself. I cannot express how happy I was to use the replay function in Overwatch for the first time, and realize how clean, smooth, and helpful it was. For a baseline, let me describe how match replays work in Paladins. First of all, if you played a casual match, they don't actually work. Paladins will not save a replay of a casual match unless someone outside of the match was spectating using the spectate command, in which case it will save the replay. Luckily for those who enjoy ranked, every single ranked match does get its replay saved, but for us filthy casuals, well, we're out of luck. Now, if you do want to go watch a match replay in Paladins, it's a bit complicated. First, you have to go to your match history and find the match ID of the match you want to replay. Then you have to go down to the system chat and type /replay and then the match ID. Then, it'll load you into the match. From there, there's no clean UI filled with buttons to press to control the match, no. Instead, you have to fumble about on your keyboard to speed up the match, slow it down, and look at certain things such as loadouts or damage dealt by each player. There's no easy way to find these keybinds either. It doesn't show in the binding section of settings, so for the spectator keybinds, you have to go to the wiki. There, you'll find someone's best attempt to bring some order to these wacky keybinds, with notes scattered throughout that mention certain finicky things that you need to do in order to not break spectator mode. You need to have numlock active in order for spectator mode controls to function properly, so I guess players with keyboards that don't have a numpad are just out of luck, I guess. Also, it says that you can't press certain buttons at all, or spectator mode will literally crash. It's such a janky system, and while there are at least systems in place to show helpful stats like kills, healing done, and stuff like that, it's just not a pleasant system to use. It also doesn't help that controller players, which make up a significant portion of the player base, can't even really use the match replay function at all, since it seems to be a feature which requires a keyboard and mouse to use. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the replay function in Overwatch. If you want to replay any match in Overwatch, all you need to do is go to your career profile, go to replays, click on any match, and press view. Simple as that. When you're in the match, it states clearly at the bottom of the screen to press N for controls, and when you do that, you're greeted with something beautiful that should be in Paladins. Actual controls. You can pause, rewind, fast forward, and skip around to your heart's desire. You can make it play faster or slower by using a simple toggle menu, and you can easily spectate any of the players with another helpful menu located neatly on the UI. You can also turn on overlays and view even more advanced options by pressing B. Everything is so clean and easy to use, and so much more polished than the replay system in Paladins. After playing Paladins for so long and growing accustomed to the janky replay system in that game, using match replays in Overwatch feels like a dream. While Overwatch doesn't have stat overlays like the total healing done by everyone in the match, I will happily give that up from Paladins replays if it means having a smooth, polished, and amazing replay function like the one in Overwatch. Maybe the nerd and content creator in me is fanboying a little bit too hard for the replays in Overwatch, but I seriously just love this feature about Overwatch. After all, it's the only reason why I was able to make this video at all, and it let me go back and capture stuff like this legendary hammer kill on Torbjorn when I wasn't recording with OBS. For me personally, this could go higher on the list, but since it's not as impactful as some of the other features on this list for the average player, the replay function only goes at number 5. Still though, it undoubtedly deserves its place in this list, in my opinion. Number 4. The Workshop. Now, I'm going to be completely honest and upfront about the custom matches in Overwatch. I haven't really played with them that much. So, if I miss something about the Workshop in Overwatch that you feel might be important, please let me know in the comments. However, it doesn't take a genius to realize that the custom matches in Overwatch are light years ahead of the custom matches in Paladins in terms of the customization and flexibility they allow you to have. While Paladins is the king of customization when it comes to the average casual and ranked matches, Overwatch takes the crown when it comes to the possibilities of custom matches. Once again, let's start with the custom matches in Paladins to get a baseline. In Paladins, there's an entire section for custom matches, where you can look for other players' matches in a variety of regions, or create your own. If you want to create a match, you can choose the game mode, choose the map, including some test maps and limited maps not available in the regular queue, and change some options like team size and ranked or open draft. Once you're in the match, you can switch around the players and add bots if necessary. Then, you can press play to start. Don't get me wrong. There is nothing inherently wrong with this system. It allows you to make pretty decent custom matches with anywhere from 1 to 9 additional friends, or even all by yourself if you just add a bot. It serves its purpose well, and it does the bare minimum required of a custom match system. I have no problem with this, but when you stack it up against the custom matches in Overwatch, there's just no comparison. In Overwatch, the word custom in custom matches is no joke. You can customize literally everything about your custom matches in Overwatch, right down to the game modes, teams, and even heroes. You can make a custom selection of game modes, make the custom matches last as long as you want, and even make unfair team matchups like 1v2s for example, which is not possible in Paladins. And this isn't even touching the hero customization. If you thought Paladins had great customization on its champions with its loadout and talent system, then you have not seen the Workshop in Overwatch. For example, if I want to make D.Va's defense matrix last longer and make her do exorbitant amounts of damage, all I have to do is just click on the settings, click on heroes, find D.Va, and just adjust some sliders. Then, enter the custom match, pick D.Va, and boom, she's been changed from her regular base kit into something much more powerful. What these customization features allow you to do is create some truly insane game modes, with the only limitations really being your time and creativity. For example, if I wanted to, I could make a Juggernaut-style game mode, where I put a team of 5 players against just one player, who is playing a super buffed tank like Reinhardt. All I would have to do is adjust some sliders, find some friends, and boom, new and fun custom match. And the best part is, you can save these custom match settings, and share them with other people. You don't even need to change the settings every single time. And you can also play short custom matches while you're waiting for a casual or ranked queue. I remember playing with some friends, loading up a custom 1v1 game mode from the Workshop, and dueling my friends while we waited for a match. While I got absolutely smoked because my friends are better than me, the point still stands that the custom matches in Overwatch are just far better than those in Paladins. While the custom matches in Paladins are by no means bad, they're not exceptional like the ones in Overwatch, which is why custom matches and the Workshop have to make it onto this list. Number 3. Stats. In the number 3 spot we have, well, the exact same thing that was in the number 3 spot for the other video where I discussed the things Paladins does better than Overwatch. Because while Paladins might do some stats better, Overwatch does other stats better. Honestly, I just wish that both games would merge how they do their stats, so we get the best stats from Paladins like damage numbers, detailed end of match stat screens, and death recap, and we also get the best stats from Overwatch, which are the career stats. Like I said in the last video, Paladins kinda lacks career stats. In the game itself, you can't see how long you've played a champion, what your KD or win rate is on them, or any of the other many stats that are easily accessible in Overwatch. While you can gain access to those stats through websites like Paladins Guru or bots like the Paladins Assistant, even these still aren't as easy access and comprehensive as the career stats in Overwatch. On the first page of the career profile alone, you can see a few different stats that don't show up in Paladins. You can see a breakdown of how long you've played each hero, and you can also see the amount of games won in each role queue. But then, if you head on over to the Statistics tab, you can see so much more. You can see your overall stats for each of the different game modes and heroes, including stuff like your playtime, win rate, healing and damage done, and eliminations. For example, if I click on Baptiste, I can see my combined stats for all game modes, but I can make it more specific and just look at my competitive stats. I can see my win rate, eliminations per life, solo kills, final blows, total damage done, and all sorts of other nerdy stuff that can help me understand how well I'm playing. There's even super advanced stuff like weapon accuracy, total cards and medals, and hero-specific stats like immortality field deaths prevented, and amplification matrix assists. The amount of stats for each hero is just ludicrous. It's far easier to see how well you're doing as a hero across a wide variety of games in Overwatch, and many of these stats are either non-existent in Paladins, or can only be accessed by third-party sources. Also, on the subject of hero-specific stats, there's another nice thing about Overwatch that I want to fit in with this section. For a lot of different heroes, there are special settings just for them that can make playing a champion easier or more reliable. While Paladins lets you change specific bindings for different champions, there's nothing which lets you further change how you play a champion in terms of accessibility. For example, one of these settings that I've been using is the Confirm Nano option for Ana. If you go to Options, then Controls, and then select Ana, you can see under the Hero section that you can require confirmation on your Nano Boost. Another example would be Mercy's options to toggle beam connection, and also prefer the beam target when using Guardian Angel. While not every hero has such unique settings, it's really nice that some heroes do. Such options have the potential to make some heroes even more accessible to some players, and also just makes some heroes just easier and more reliable to play. It's really nice. So to recap, while Paladins definitely has the edge when it comes to some stats like a detailed scoreboard at the end of a match, Overwatch also has some really nice stats that definitely deserve to be mentioned, and these extra settings for some heroes is a really nice touch alongside certain hero-specific stats that are recorded in your career profile. Number 2. Hitboxes. In the number 2 spot we have a huge gripe that everyone has with Paladins, the hitboxes. Not only is this referring to the abhorrent champion hitboxes, but also some of the maps too. But first, let's talk about the champion hitboxes. So, the hitboxes in Paladins are pretty basic. And by pretty basic, I mean really basic. So basic, in fact, that oftentimes you can still do damage to someone even if your shot doesn't actually hit the character model. I mean, just look at this! And of course, while Overwatch isn't flawless either, its hitboxes are generally much tighter than those in Paladins, and they're a bit closer to the actual character model as opposed to the moon-sized hitboxes of Paladins. Headshots also seem to be a bit more reliable in Overwatch, especially when comparing any hero in Overwatch to someone like Rom, who's strangely really hard to headshot despite having the second largest hitbox in the game. Headshots are crucial to many of the heroes and champions in both games, because it can mean getting a bunch of bonus damage and even an instant kill when playing someone like Kinessa or Hanzo. So, having reliable head hitboxes is key. And of course, there's also the aspect of improving aim, which is something that just about every player is trying to do. The best way to improve your aim, in my opinion, is to practice and practice over time, since you'll slowly build up muscle memory and generally become more precise. Overwatch's hitboxes are smaller, tighter, and more accurate, which means that they require greater precision to hit, especially when we're talking about someone as tiny and nimble as Tracer. So, generally speaking, Overwatch players build up more precise aim than Paladins players due to the more accurate hitboxes and thus the need for more precision. That's not to say that Paladins players have bad aim, it's just that if you played mostly Paladins, your aim would be a bit worse off than someone who played mostly Overwatch. I can say from personal experience that while my aim in Paladins is pretty good most of the time, it's noticeably worse in Overwatch because I don't have much experience aiming at smaller targets than the tiniest, fastest things in Paladins, like a soaring, blinking Eevee. If you play a lot of Paladins and not much else, there's a certain limit to how good your aim can get before you can't really improve much further. While the same can absolutely be said for Overwatch or any other game, Overwatch does give you much more room to improve compared to Paladins. And of course, like I said earlier, it's not just the champion hitboxes that are subpar in Paladins, but the map hitboxes and collisions too. While I actually really like the maps and map layouts themselves in Paladins, I have to take issue with the bad hitboxes and collisions on a lot of those maps. One thing that I really value in games with flying characters is the ability to actually use that flight to the fullest and soar around the map and over buildings. Overwatch, of course, lets you do that pretty much anywhere. You can fly over pretty much anything until you reach the tallest buildings which touch the skybox. And of course, that's reasonable. There are also a few maps that are good for this in Paladins too, like Ascension Peak, which is one of my favorite maps for all of its secrets and fun places to go with mobile champions. However, there are some glaring examples of maps where you can't do such a thing. The two biggest examples that leap out to me are Frozen Guard and Ice Mines, both of which are pretty old maps, but Frozen Guard got revamped somewhat recently. These two maps have incredibly low skyboxes. On Ice Mines, you can't fly over this gated area, which looks like you should clearly be able to fly over it, and even around the objective, you can't go too far up before you hit the skybox. On Frozen Guard, there's this bridge area which you should clearly be able to fly over. The skybox goes high enough, and there's no obvious visual limitation for why you shouldn't be able to. Yet what happens when you try and go over it? You get hit by an invisible wall. You can still shoot through it, but you can't fly over it. It's bad hitboxes like these that make Drogos and other agile flying champions suffer on tight maps that would otherwise be much more accessible if the collisions were better. And also, let's go back to the map I mentioned earlier, Ascension Peak. While I have to give it praise for being a very open map with a lot of secrets, it has its flaws too. For example, you can stand in 2 of the different windows surrounding the objective room, but not any of the others. Why not? What good reason do I have for not being able to stand inside those windows? There's also a few glitched spots where you really shouldn't be able to stand, but you can stand anyways, which can be beneficial for some champions, but regardless of who you're playing, is pretty silly. I have tried to fly over similar buildings in similar areas to these in Overwatch maps with Pharah, who, well, I play a lot because she's kind of a crutch due to my Drogo's experience, and I haven't stumbled into any troubles with the collisions on Overwatch's maps. It seems like the maps are just much more polished and well made than the Paladins maps from a technical standpoint. While I love the variety and layout of many of Paladins' maps, some of their bad collisions and hitboxes can't be ignored, and when coupled with the gargantuan hitboxes of the many champions in Paladins, it makes Overwatch look so much better from a technical and polished standpoint. Speaking of polish, in the number 1 spot we have the running theme stringing every one of these points together, the overall polish on this game. Paladins is a game known for, among other things, its bugs, and Blizzard is a company with a reputation of putting out extremely polished games. So it only makes sense that Overwatch's polish and smooth gameplay experience is one of the biggest edges it has over Paladins, which can seem clunky and glitchy on a daily basis. The biggest example of the polish difference has to do with the many bugs and issues that Paladins has. There are far too many bugs throughout Paladins' history to list here, but you don't have to play Paladins for long to find something wrong with the game. Whether it's the main menu disappearing after pressing play, to the many server issues that are always happening in at least one of the regions this game supports, to mastery skins bugging out, both when you finally unlock them at the end of the match and when, well, you don't actually unlock them at all, to many of the weird gameplay interactions that seem buggy and don't make sense, and the list just goes on and on. And while I'm sure that those in the Overwatch community can probably name a few interesting bugs that have happened in Overwatch over the years, they just don't stack up to the weird stuff that's happened in Paladins throughout the game's history. Every match of Overwatch that I've played has been consistently smooth, with only minor inconveniences being few and far between, such as not being able to switch heroes when dying because I respawned in an area that lost its spawn room status when I decided to finally press the button to switch. The game runs really well, and as far as I can tell, everything works the way it's supposed to, like a well-oiled machine. But of course, bugs aren't the only reason why Overwatch wins out on polish. There's also another factor to consider: graphics. You can argue all day long about whether the style and theming of Paladins or Overwatch is better, and that's not really my point here. My point, rather, has to do with the actual quality of graphics, both when it comes to low settings and just overall skins and textures. First of all, when it comes to skins, pretty much any skin you look at in Overwatch is of a consistent quality. The textures are all pretty crisp, and the modeling work is solid. The same can also be said for pretty much any skin in Paladins that's come out in the last year. They've all got fantastic models and super sharp textures. However, when you look back at some of the earlier skins in the game, the quality difference is apparent. Some of the oldest skins in the game, like God of War, which has weird flat chains on it, or Dutchman Makoa, which is bland and has basic textures, are completely outclassed by the skins that came out later, like Sanguine Fernando or Omega Makoa. And even then, those two examples get outclassed by something like Berserker Torvald, which came out this year and has exceptional textures and model quality. I think it's phenomenal that Paladins has improved the quality of its skins over the years, but the problem is that the older skins just don't look that great, and hold the polished feel of the game back. Not to mention the other cosmetics in the game like loading frames, sprays, and avatars, whose quality is all over the place. Some loading frames should be animated but aren't, and some avatars and sprays have high quality detailed textures while others are pixelated or blurry. Meanwhile, just by taking a scroll through some of the skins in Overwatch, you can see that they're all extremely consistent with the textures and model quality, which makes the game more visually appealing. And of course, on the topic of visual appeal, we have to talk about low graphics settings. Because while we can gawk at the highest visual settings all day long, not everyone can actually play on the highest visual settings. So it helps to compare how both games look on the lowest settings too. If we take a look at Overwatch on the lowest settings, we can see that, well, it looks alright. It's not winning the Prettiest Game of the Year award, but it doesn't hurt the eyes. You can still clearly make out what everything is supposed to be, and it looks fine. Meanwhile, let's set Paladins to the lowest graphic settings and see what that looks... oh no. This is Play-Doh. There are so many words I would use here to describe it, but it would keep this video from being family friendly. So we'll play it safe and say that it looks appalling, to say the least. If you have to play on a low-end device and don't want your game to look like crap, then there's really only one game that fits that bill, and that's Overwatch. Once again, Overwatch's polish wins out. No matter what aspect you compare the two games on, even if Paladins wins in some things like champion originality and customization, Overwatch will always beat it when it comes to polish, unless something drastic happens. It's one of the biggest things that Overwatch does better, and it would be terrible of me if I didn't include it on this list. But anyways, that's going to be the end of today's video. What do you think of my list? Do you agree with the reasons I listed, or do you think that I'm wrong about my reasons for thinking Overwatch is better than Paladins? Make sure to let me know in the comments section down below, and also don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content from me. Don't forget to check out the first video, where I discuss the top 5 best things that Paladins does better than Overwatch. A link to that video will be both in the cards and in the description below. Also, check me out on Discord and Twitch. We have a wonderful community of active members on Discord, and I stream regularly on Twitch. You won't want to miss out. Lastly, I want to give a huge shout out to the members of the channel for helping to support my content. If you want to support what I do, then click the join button down below to become a member of my channel and gain access to some fun emojis and an exclusive role in the Discord server. It's cheap, and it helps out a lot. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.